At www.spreaker.com, create your own radio show and find thousands of exclusive radio channels.
What is going on, everybody? WWE Monday Night Raw review, rundown, whatever you want to call it. We have 2 viewers in the Justin TV Live. I'm doing a podcast. WWE Monday Night Raw rundown review for June 18th of 2012. We're going to get into it, y'all. Thank you all for listening to the podcast, watching us on here. Get the chat, start sharing, Facebook, Twitter. We have a link on the website, nextgenerationwrestling.com. All Access Wrestling, All American Wrestling. Follow us on Facebook, like us on Twitter. I think it's the opposite, isn't it? Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Anyway, I never get that right. Let's get into it, y'all. Raw. And then, after this podcast, I'll do early previews for SmackDown. That'll be a little bit later. So please hang in there. Start chatting it up. And, I just misspelled watching. That's awesome in the chat. Anyway, let's get into it, y'all. Raw, as we just lost a viewer. They opened it up with Mick Foley. He comes out there, he does a promo saying that there's going to be a different Raw general manager every single week until they find a permanent Raw GM, right? And so that's all cool. John Laurinaitis comes out there and says, I need to tell the WWE Universe what I think and give them a pretty much a go-away present, as he likes to say. And they wouldn't give him much time to talk. So he's like, well, I'm gonna give my speech later on tonight. So he leaves the ring and he says, well, actually Sheamus comes out there, don't he? Sheamus comes out there and he does a promo about John Laurinaitis. And John Laurinaitis says, you know what, last night before I got fired, I made a main event. It's going to be John Cena versus Big Show, David Otunga, and myself, John Laurinaitis, in a 3-on-1 handicap match, and that's going to be your main event. Well, okay. And I don't know if he announced the first match or it just came about, but anyway, the next match is Sheamus and CM Punk taking on Daniel Bryan and Kane. Pretty good back-and-forth tag team match. AJ came out there at the end, dressed up as Kane, had a mask, costume like him. And just kind of just ran around the ring, distracted Kane. Kane went up halfway up to the stage. Punk hit the GTS, and Sheamus hit the probe kick on Daniel Bryan for the win. So Sheamus and CM Punk defeat Daniel Bryan and Kane. Then we have a little backstage segment with Vicky Guerrero, Jack Swagger, and Dolph Ziggler. And she says, well, I'm tired of y'all fighting over me. And so she says, whoever wins this match between Dolph Ziggler and Jack Swagger will have my services or my affection or something to that nature. They're okay. Decent back and forth action. You really can't get into the Jack Swagger gimmick in the sense of there's just something about him where you just can't get into the character. And holding the microphone, by the way, on the stream. Anyway, so they go back and forth. Dolph Ziggler ends up beating him with the zigzag, I believe. After the match, him and Vicky Guerrero make out, which was a little bit disturbing. But anyway, no big deal. I was kind of hoping that he would kind of get away from her a little bit. But it doesn't seem like that. Hopefully he is on Raw and SmackDown because I think he's a great talent. That's what they usually do with him. That's what they've been doing with him. And hopefully he gets a push. They gave him a little bit of push because Alberto Del Rio was out of action with a concussion. And then they gave him another little push with him going over Jack Swagger. And if you remember a couple of weeks there where he wasn't beating anybody, he was just getting jobbed out. Alberto Del Rio comes out there with defeats Santino Marella in like a minute and 30-second match, which I noted this on the live play-by-play that we did on the website, that why would you have Alberto Del Rio, I get he had a concussion, but if he really had that bad of concussion, why can't he come out there the next night and wrestle, but he can't wrestle on a Sunday? So if you really think about it, that's just WWE in the sense of, well, we already made this announcement, and you have to go out there on Monday Night Raw. You don't have a choice. Kind of like NFL players do back in the day, but they don't do it anymore now. So anyway, he defeated him, and then, another thing, the reason I think that they did this is because you have Ricardo Rodriguez and Santino Marella kind of feuding in the sense of they had a tuxedo match. Ricardo got embarrassed on a pay-per-view, so he wanted to get a couple shots in. They took up some airtime, and that was about it. I don't know if this match was before or after the Triple H Paul Heyman segment, but we're going to get into that. Paul Heyman comes out there to Brock Lesnar because Triple H did a promo the previous night on No Way Out saying, I'm tired of the lawyers, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that. I want to fight. Brock Lesnar is not a wrestler, he's a fighter. And so SummerSlam, Triple H, Brock Lesnar, I'll be waiting. Well, they hyped it up all day long with their mobile services, which is free, which y'all should get because it is kind of cool. They break out that before we put up an article. And so they hyped Brock Lesnar coming back all night. All night. Well, of course, Paul Heyman comes out there because they can't give up Brock Lesnar's dates. So, yeah, Paul Heyman come out there. He gets a pretty good promo in the sense of Brock Lesnar doesn't have to do this. Brock Lesnar doesn't have to do that. And Brock Lesnar can do whatever Brock Lesnar wants to do. In the sense of, yes, he can if you're thinking in the World Wrestling Entertainment world. But anyway, so he says, no, you're not going to get this. No, we're not going to drop the lawsuit. No, we're not going to fight you at SummerSlam. And he proceeds to leave the ring. Of course, Triple H, the game, he comes out there and says, I'm going to make you tell Brock Lesnar to fight me. They go back and forth. Paul Heyman's like, what, are you going to punch me? Please punch me. Right here, just punch me. I want another lawsuit. Well, Triple H doesn't do that. Then he brings up the Stephanie point. Stephanie McMahon, Levinsky, if you really want to get into it. And you got to give it up to Paulie. He sold that thing pretty good. And Triple H knocked him out. And he says some fancy line like, I'll be waiting, or something to that nature. And they leave. But you got to give it up to Paulie. That was a great sell on. I mean, he just dropped, which was pretty cool. Then you have, I think that was before the Alberto Del Rio match. I'm just looking at the match cards on Next Generation Wrestling side of WWE.com/WWE Monday Night Raw results. A little cheap plug there. Then you have the god-awful, pretty much, I cannot wait, and I put this in the play-by-play, I cannot wait until the Raw full rating comes out, because this segment was awful. You had two chicks that hasn't been popular since 1984, come out there, and she's plugging music and stuff like that and jumping around like she's 20 when she's like 60. And you know, thank God she's in that kind of shape. But nothing for WWE Monday Night Raw. And we put up an article today, and the point of this segment was, of course, for Roddy Piper to come out. Well, before Roddy Piper came out, Heath Slater came out there, and he was trying to sing because he's the one-man rock band. And then Roddy Piper came out there, and they had like a record that Cyndi Lauper, something like that, smashed over Heath Slater's head, which was a pretty good spot. He was bleeding pretty good, and that was pretty cool. That was all that. And basically when we put up the article, which I was saying, was the reason they did this was they want to hype up, and they want to have a legend for every week to come out on Monday Night Raw, wrestle, promo, segment, something to hype up the 1000th Raw, because they're bringing all these legends in for the 1000th Raw. And if you expect good storylines on that night, I don't see that. I see that more of Attitude Era legends coming back and doing a segment, doing a spot, possibly wrestling, something like that. So anyway, but it should be pretty special. Now this match I called, and the main event I called, just right off the spot. We did a live audio on Spreaker.com, and I did pretty good on commentary, I gotta admit. I've been thinking about doing this for NXT, Superstar, or SmackDown, but whenever I feel like it. I thought I did pretty decent on the fact of matches calling. The whole trying to kill time, I wasn't very good at that. I didn't have music ready. I didn't have anything ready. I did 3 or 4 commercial breaks. I mean, it was pretty good. The John Laurinaitis promo that I had to cover, that was a little bit tricky, but enough of me. Back to the rundown. Primo and Epico facing primetime players. This was actually a pretty good match. I mean, these guys put on a hell of a show at No Way Out in the Fatal 4-Way #1 contender, but I would like them to see them kind of follow up on it. I don't know if they're waiting on a pay-per-view. I don't know if they're waiting for Raw, but they had a #1 contenders match, and the next night, there's nothing. Highly doubt I'm doing it on SmackDown. I wouldn't mind it, but I'd rather it be on Raw or a pay-per-view. But that's what that went down. Primo and Epico defeated primetime players after a count-out, and I called that, and I could not get Epico and Primo's name correctly. Anyway, John Laurinaitis came out there to a promo saying, you know what, y'all miss me, and I'm the best GM of all time, and blah, 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 blah. Big Show came out there, did a promo basically saying, there's no point in me staying out here and defending you. Bye. So it turned into a 2-on-1 at that point. David Otunga was getting his butt whooped pretty good. He tagged out to John Laurinaitis as he got the upper hand. David Otunga left him. He's like, oh, I don't want any of this. And then John Cena did 3 AAs to John Laurinaitis to end the show. And that was pretty much Raw. So, anyway, No Way Out was pretty good. I didn't do a review show just because I was having technical issues. But anyway, that's what happened in Monday Night Raw. Pepsi right here. Alright, well, I'm going to end this podcast. WWE Monday Night Raw Rundown Review, June 18th, 2012 results. Next Generation Wrestling site at Weeb.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We're out of here, y'all, and we'll see you next time.